aboard!
Outdoor service owners, rise and shine. It's time to start fueling your success one adventure at a time. Welcome to Outdoorsy Entrepreneur, brought to you by Big Tuna Websites, where business owners learn and explore ways to take charge and level up. Today, we are talking about 5 steps home service contractors can do to minimize or even stop overtime in your payroll. We are your hosts. I'm Kevin Fontaine, and this is the best landscape lighting king in Virginia, Patrick Harders. Join us on this journey every Wednesday. Like, comment, subscribe on our YouTube channel, and listen to wherever you get your podcasts, and follow us on our social media platforms at Outdoorsy Boss. What's been going on, Pat?
Wonder where you got the stop sign at.
From one of my trucks.
Right on a street corner.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm excited. I'm heading, going with a couple friends to the Cubs-Nats game, so I'm a big Cubs fan. So
Sweet.
Always
Go
a good
Cubs.
time. Yeah, they're probably not going to do much, but that's my baseball team.
Hell yeah. So, guys, we're talking about 5 easy ways you can implement in your own business to minimize production overtime. You know, overtime can significantly impact a business's bottom line. And we've got 5 kind of strategies you can develop and implement to help you along the way. Number 1, effective scheduling. Number 1, we got optimize your work hours to ensure that employees are beating the traffic, getting out early, ahead of traffic, and then able to work during those peak times to get that production down and out.
Yeah, that was actually in lighting. That's a huge problem because, you know, a lot of us, I spent years doing nighttime design. So I would be outside till 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock at night. And the last thing I want to do is get up at 6 a.m. to get the guys going. So we had later start times. And I think that silent killer is that first 30 minutes to 45 minutes. You know, it's so easy for everybody to meet up, say hi, talk a little bit, shoot the shit, get a cup of coffee, use the restroom, get lunch ready, all that stuff, and then stop at the gas station on the way out. Like,
oh boy,
you know, and you don't really pay attention because so they get out to the job at 8:30 or 9 instead of 8.
Right. But
when you start looking at the end of the week and you're paying guys instead of $24 an hour, it's up to $34 an hour, $36 an hour. You know, it really adds up, and you start going through, 5 guys, 10 guys doing it, it'll kill you. It's kind of the silent killer is, what expenses can happen, when you're not really managing overtime and when it just gets out of control.
Yeah. What we like to do in lawn and landscape is calculate the average unappropriated, unbillable time that we normally have each week. And we'd actually schedule that into our scheduling software, our routing, because, it does take time to empty out the trucks each day for the debris, trash, clean equipment, do equipment maintenance, go over maybe a job scenario with someone at the office, etc. So this unbillable time, unproduction time, you have to account for that as you're scheduling each week. So don't schedule a 40-hour exact production week for the guys, because you're going to have travel, you're going to have traffic concerns, you're going to have questions, scratching head moments, fueling, etc. So you got to account for as you're planning out that weekly load.
Yeah. And I think a lot can happen, if people are de-incentivized to get the job done, meaning like, hey, if you get done early, you get paid less. It doesn't take long for you to start figuring out, like, they're dragging out there in the field. We had a Christmas lighting business that was a complete disaster. And I remember telling the guys, I'm like, hey, in order to, if you go ahead and get the job done at 2 o'clock, I'll pay you till 5. Like, I'll give you a full day's worth of pay. Right. And my business partner at the time was like, no, we can't do that. And so I would catch the guys. Like, he was funny. He's like, I got out to a job and it was like, I left at 9 o'clock. They left at 8, and I met them at the job at the exact same time because they all went to Sheetz. Sheetz is like the number one killer because it's the slowest damn food in the world. Yeah. So they would all go to Sheetz to get their breakfast, they did all that, or I'd catch them on the side of the building waiting. And so it's like, if there's no incentive for them to get the job done, you know, they're going to go slow. And the worst thing in the world that happens is you have to go back the second day. Like in lawn and landscaping, like lawn cutting, that doesn't happen as much. But if they don't get all their jobs done and there's 2 left over, it kills you the next day because then your routing's all screwed up and everything else.
Incentivize your staff if it's becoming an issue, saying, hey, we're budgeted this amount of time for this job or this day, even this week. If you
Yeah.
guys come in or under, you get a nice incentive bonus that you appropriate in, because you're getting the revenue. You got to calculate, okay, how much am I willing to break off for my crew if they help me minimize or stop overtime each week? So that's a good way to handle that as well.
Yeah. And the quality of guys you have on. We had 5 years ago, we had 11 guys on, and we got rid of 6, and we got the same amount of work done by incentivizing pay. So
Nice.
something to really consider, but it can get out of hand quickly too. With all of a sudden everybody's like figuring out the incentive pay, and for us, like not wanting to do a service call because it doesn't pay as much as an install would.
Right.
So it's coming up with a system that can work for your business that encourages people to do the right things.
Exactly. Next, as you're planning your weekly workload or your daily workloads ahead of time, plan each season out ahead of time, because seasonality and what we do in outdoor home services is a real thing. Mm-hmm. And so you're going to have high peaks in production, and then it's going to dip down. So like, say, for instance, Pat, winter's coming up,
Yeah.
obviously you're not going to need a full workload that you had in the summer. So now's the time to plan ahead and say, okay, who's my top guys? Who can I not lose to other competitors if I don't give them full-time work all throughout the winter? And then appropriate those people that you can risk losing, or that are going to school or have other part-time jobs, that you can work something out with them and say, hey, let's get you in the winter, but let's go part-time and get those hours down for your payroll.
Yeah. Yeah. Staffing's important. And that's like, if you really want to have great service, or, a customer calls you up like, hey, I have a party and I need someone there quickly, you got to be able to jump on it, but you have to be staffed for that. You can't pull people off of one job to go fix another job. Then you're just always chasing yourself. So, but in order to have the right staffing, you have to charge enough. Like if you're going to go that route and say, hey, we'll do next day service, you have to be charging enough to kind of carry some time, where people aren't going to be as busy, so they're available.
And then the next, number 2, we got improved efficiency and productivity. Mm-hmm. Number 1 on this list is invest in quality tools and equipment. Update and upgrade that dog shit equipment you got out there each season. Buy some new stuff. It's a write-off, tax write-off. Don't go crazy. You got to stick to a budget, right? But as that equipment starts getting old and tired, you got to bring some new blood in, man, and get the newest and latest wire trenchers or mowers or edgers, string trimmers, all that good stuff. And that's a big one, Pat.
Yeah. I think guys take pride in having good equipment. Like if you're using it every day and you've got a trimmer that just never starts or it takes 10 minutes, like just aggravates everybody, and they want to have good equipment. Yeah. They want to have good tools. So like, keeping up to date on that. And that's, inspecting it, checking it out, being out on a job every once in a while, just showing up to see what's going on and talking to the guys, firsthand is key to, just making sure that they're not using crappy stuff or losing stuff. All that can happen.
Yeah. So
real easy.
As you scale your business, if you're owner operator chucking a truck, it's one thing, because you're going to take pride in your equipment. You're going to strap it down and not let it roll around, and protect your equipment, right? And do proper maintenance on it each week. But as you start getting more and more employees, I was Pat up to 50. We had to put in SOPs, standard operating procedures, for equipment due diligence and proper strapping, proper care, proper maintenance, preventative maintenance, and all that good stuff. We would have guys come back from the day's routes, and it looked like the blower had been tossed in a washing machine. It'd been tumbled around. I don't know how the top broke off. It's all plastic up there. And it'd come back with broken pieces and dents in the damn mowers. And we had to state a protocol where then we issued equipment with serial numbers, and we actually had our own FLC tags that we did for inventory. Mm-hmm. But okay, crew 22, you get this equipment, this exact equipment, down to the serial number. We're going to tag it with your crew color, and you're now held responsible for the life of this equipment. Now, shit happens, mistakes, you got to
Yeah.
grant those, but abuse, neglect, losing, they're paying for it.
Yeah. And you'll see patterns like one guy keeps going through the same crap.
Right.
You know, I was an idiot and I was kind of too nice to people where I'm like, oh, yeah, you can take a truck home. It's easier to start off. And I did those mistakes at the
Oh
beginning.
God.
And,
The old take home, and then somebody sees them at Walmart. And
oh, well, I
yeah.
had a call. I was on vacation and one of my employees let his sister borrow one of our little vans and they didn't tie the ladder down and they're going down Highway 66. And the ladder just
Woo!
flying off the road and it's this huge ordeal and stopping traffic. And I'm like, the hell is my truck going out on a Saturday for? He's like, well, it's just in the driveway, easier to get to. And, and you get in a lot of trouble. I had, that's a whole nother story of letting people take trucks home. But, they get in an accident while they're driving to work. All of a sudden you're on the hook for that whole thing. And
Yeah. My insurance company said that's a
Browns.
no.
Yeah.
They don't like that at all.
Yep.
Because I guess they've heard so many nightmare stories of it.
Yep.
Next, we got invest in some good field service software.
Definitely.
That'll help reduce all the manual entries each week. You can start putting in checklists, build in automations. They even have software to help you optimize your routing. So if you've got a daily route or a weekly, route, it'll optimize it from shop out, back to shop in a nice loop. That's super efficient as you gain more and more customers. That's recurring. Even Pat, with your lighting installs, and you need them to go hit a quick repair that they can catch on the way back because you've looked at their schedule. Boom, you throw it into their service software. It has a mapping, GPS coordinates to get them there. All they do is press a button to the next job, clock in and out. You can see them real time where they're at on a map. As an owner operator, it's like crucial to have some sort of good, efficient software. I mean, there's so many out there. There's Jobber, there's you got House Call Pro, which I use. There's so many, but do a time trial. Not a time trial, but do a trial if you don't have a good one, and check them out. Check different ones out to see which one works for you. You may not need all the bells and whistles, but a lot of these software companies, Pat, are allowing you to sign up for a basic plan, and then add on these widgets later as you grow your business. So that's a good way to help save some money there.
And they're not big investments. Usually it can be anywhere from like $100 a month to $500 a month, somewhere in there.
Yeah.
Which is an investment, but you could save that on one job. So
there you go. Think about that. All right. Next, we have employee training. This is so crucial to provide, not as only they come in one time, but ongoing training to help them calibrate to the quality standard that you're going for. As you're an owner and you're pulling out of the truck and now you're behind the scenes working on your business, you're going to want the same quality standards that you held yourself to out there. So training on skill sets, knowledge, sending them to schooling, green industry schooling or lighting schooling or fencing and decking and all that good stuff. Get them certified in that specific trade. And then they're going to level up their mindset. I'm performing better quality. It just permeates to their work and more accurate work.
Yeah. And I think that's, as a business owner, a lot of us struggle with that because we didn't go through training. Like, I don't know how long it was for you before you hit your first training course, but it was probably a year or two into your business of just figuring crap out.
Yeah.
So then all of a sudden you go from like, you should just learn because I learned how to do it on the job. And so we'll just send guys out there with shovels and lawnmowers and expect them to do it.
Point.
And it's a disaster. Yeah. go that way and get it done. So I think that ongoing training and even like that weekly meeting of like taking some time and planning it so you could have like, hey, I want to go over, for us, like, how do you write down properly a transformer and how do you wire it up? Like assuming they're doing it right is not going to work. You have to, show them how to do it, measuring how they're doing it, track how they're doing it, and go back and review it. And once you build that standard up, people can work to your level, but don't assume that people are going to be at the level you're at. They're not as invested.
Exactamundo. And one thing we like to do, Pat, is to have very specific roles, just similar to the Cubs baseball team. I don't want the first baseman going out to the outfield
Yeah.
for inning 4.
Going
I
into pitch
want
for an inning like they do now.
right, so I want them very specific so they can do it over and over and over again and be so efficient and quality on it. It's amazing.
Yeah.
So, in other words, a mowing crew have one guy always on the rider, one guy's always on that string trimmer, etc. One guy's spot is in charge of spot spraying, the detail work, hand
Hmm.
pruning, those little details. Usually I assign those to the foreman so he can relax and walk the property, see everything as the guys are doing the common stuff that everybody knows how to do. But
Yeah.
a lot of your mowing guys, they just look down, hit the stripes, and that's
Go.
all they're focused on. They're not looking at the plants, turning the leaves over to see if you've got insect disease issues and all that good stuff. So I assigned specific roles for each employee just because they can work together better as a team and it'll effectively get the whole umbrella of what's required on the property.
Yeah. And I think too many guys on a job gets inefficient. I was reading a study that, typically 2 guys is most efficient, maybe 3. Once you get to that 4th guy,
Yeah.
people start looking at each other to go
Yeah.
like, are you doing this? Are you, and you lose efficiency. So I'd rather have 3 guys go to one job, 3 guys go to another job. And if it's a big job, like we had a huge job this week and it was like, hey, these 3 guys are in the front, those 3 guys are in the back. So they're treating it as 2 separate jobs with 2 crews on it. So, think about efficiency because just throwing guys on the job, that could really slow things down. And it's something you don't think about. You think like, oh, if I got 5 guys building a patio, it's going to be quicker. And it's not always the
That's not
case.
always the case. Yeah, they rely on each other to lollygag as well.
Yeah.
The next thing we're talking about for that improved efficiency and productivity is standardize your procedures. Implement clear and standardized procedures to streamline workflows and minimize errors. SOPs, me, can be simple, but it gets everyone on the same page with that one particular facet of job. And one way is better than 5 different ways. Say you got a crew of 5. Hey, this guy used to do it this way. He came from this industry. This guy is just learning. Think about it. You got all these different methodologies in their head of how to operate that string trimmer or do some kind of service function. So if you standardize the way you wanted it done and the way you should operate that machinery, etc., it gets everybody on that singular page of this is how the company does it. Not Jose, not Bobby, not Susie. It's the company's way. So
Yeah. And I find it's been very difficult to bring somebody in from another, like for us, for lighting, to bring somebody in from another lighting company because, even if they're, superstars at the other company, adapting to the way you do it, it's easier for us to train our own people and train someone fresh. But it's something to keep in mind, like as you're hiring, you sometimes see this person that seems like a rock star, superstar, and you're like, oh, if I bring them on, they were running 3 crews with this other company, but they might have a lot of baggage that they bring in. Like this is the way we did it. And you could be open to listening to it, but you have to have your standard way of doing it. And if somebody is always bucking that, it's better just to get rid of them and bring in someone who's eager to learn and will do it the way you want to do it because everybody's going to have their own way of doing it. And it's part of the culture of your organization.
All right, and then next is develop a site plan, especially for recurring service. Say you're in lawn and landscape. Pat, I've got a map here, and this map shows a property that we maintain. It's ginormous. It's 86 homeowners association, and we maintain all the grounds except what's in red there, these big common spaces that are excluded. So we start with a bird's eye map view of the property, and we're going to put delineations of, okay, where's the irrigation controller? Where's the lighting controller? Where's the flower beds? Where's the clubhouse, etc. So we're putting in color coding. We're going to put in some other things as well. Now, say, Pat, you've got a crew of 4 guys that's going to tackle this landscape maintenance once a week. Okay, where are they going to park? Where are they going to start? Where are they going to end? How are you going to know that they service that entire property each week, right?
Yeah.
So then from there, we went to quadrant mapping. So now we got this developed into a quadrant system. So now we're going to assign roles and tasks per quadrant and say, okay, quadrant 1, this is the area, right? You're to do this just like it's its own property. Start to finish, everything's going to be handled right there. Then you're going to move your truck to quadrant 2 after it's completed. Boom, quadrant 2, same thing. You're doing your mowing, your bed weeding, your sprayings, everything right there. Then go to the next quadrant, etc. So if you got a big, massive project, break it down into small bits so they don't get overwhelmed with the daily tasks. Because we would have guys, Pat, go to jobs and they would simply, hold on, let me get through that. Okay. And they would just clamor and get overwhelmed on these big properties because they would park the truck usually around the clubhouse somewhere. And then one guy would go this way, another guy would go that way. And nobody knew where anybody was. And
someone's sleeping by a tree.
Or getting Krispy Kreme donuts like I did when I was a kid.
Yeah.
Working at Bland Landscaping. And yeah, and so we started implementing walkie-talkies.
Mm-hmm.
Say, hey, where are you at? Or back in the day, Nextels. Some kind of.
Do you remember how much trouble those Nextels caused?
Oh,
You're like talking to a customer, all of a sudden just chirps in with someone.
Hey, where you at?
Yeah, those are fun.
So control the chaos and start breaking down jobs to make it easier and more simple to digest for your crew. So that's next we go. Number 3, strategic resource allocation. Okay. So this is your subcontracting, your temporary staffing, and even talking equipment rentals. Pat, if you're talking subcontracting, that's something I moved to 3 years ago, and I haven't looked back. I got, all my employees are gone. God bless them. We gave them a heads up, of course, like a month in advance, just to let them know, hey, this is a new scenario for the company.
Was it Christmas Eve you did that?
Sure. Yes. Right before they had to leave anyway for vacation. No. Mm-hmm. But, subcontracting may seem like you're losing control. It may seem like, oh, God, I can't dictate what goes on with my subs. No, they're just as like employees. So when I hire subcontractors, usually I've known them and they've worked for me before throughout the years, so I know their quality. But check their quality, ask for references, go check out what they've done before, and make sure they have some sort of limited minimized standard for you. And then you progress with an agreement that I created, a subcontractor agreement, and it goes through everything, Pat.
Yeah.
Dress code, no compete clause, no smoking, all that stuff that you held your employees to a standard. You're going to do the same standard for your subs and make them agree to that.
Yeah. That's a whole different world that a lot of people haven't gotten into and going that route. I know it's really popular in like building patios and pool decking and things like that.
Yeah.
Lighting, that's not a world at all. And I was just having a discussion with a lighting guy who's got like 5 huge projects. He's got 2 guys and he's like, I'm going to have to bring in someone. He's like, but he wants like $1,600 a day for 3 guys. I'm like, dude, I would take that all day and night. You got to pay the subs. He's like, the owner's making most of the money there. I'm like, he should be. He's paying those guys like all that overhead that you're not paying.
That's like $65 an hour per person. Yeah. Yeah, and that's probably a standard charge. That 35 to 65, 75 per hour is a pretty good standard charge range. I know lawn and landscape, we can get our subs for a lot less. But those specialty services like outdoor high-end lighting, irrigation repairs, and potential installations, you're going to need some more qualified people that you're going to have to pay a lot more for. Next, let's talk temporary staffing. So, Pat, you don't have to necessarily hire a full-time person. Why don't you try to get someone in through a staffing company, test them out. The staffing company takes on all the workman's comp, the payroll, etc. You're just paying a higher wage to the staffing firm, but your hands are like this. You don't have to worry about firing them. You don't have to worry about keeping them 8 hours a day busy. It's nice to get that temperature check. And if they work out, hell, hire them full time after the contract expires with the temp staff.
So, little discussion here. Everybody's done this. They've been guilty of it. Is running up to 7-Eleven and picking up two guys.
Mm-hmm.
What's your pros and cons on that? I can tell you my great stories and horror stories. Haven't done it for 15 years, but I know a lot of guys. Like, I don't know where to even find a staffing agency, and I need a guy tomorrow. So they drive up to 7-Eleven, honk the horn, and two guys jump in the truck with knives and stab them or whatever happens. But
yeah, you don't know what you're getting for sure on that one.
Mm-hmm.
And staffing, same thing. We got some people that were supposed to be calibrated for lawn and landscape, and they came in a shirt and tie, just came from Office Max job, and you could tell that they are just going to die out there in the sun.
Yeah.
And you're going to get that. But you're going to get that with new employees that you try to hire as well.
Mm-hmm.
They go, oh, I've done lawn and landscape my whole life. And then they get there and damn, almost die from working a full day out there. And your foreman says, this guy's a joke.
Yeah.
And, but you're going to get that. And just have a temporary time period that they join your company and say, hey, you got a 60-day probationary period where we're going to evaluate your performances. You're going to see how well you interact with our staff, how well you take direction, and all those parameters that you're going to set forth, and then proof's in the pudding from that point, right?
Yeah. And I think even with that 60-day window, I think that first 3-4 days, you need to sit down with them as well. Like, how's it going? How are they liking it? How are they fitting in? Are they meeting your expectation? Like, this is where we want to get you to. So it's an encouraging thing. Yeah. But I mean, most guys for us, it's like, after we put them through training, we find out on that first or second day when they got their blisters, if you've had to call an ambulance to come pick them up because they're heat stroking or whatever's happening.
Yeah.
And it happens. I mean, it's like guys aren't really all designed to be outside. Like,
no.
I always tell my guys, I'm like, hey, we're Vikings. It could be raining, it could be snowing. Like, we're outside. This is what we do. And the great time is a day like today where it's 65, 70 degrees. That's where you get the benefit. But there's days that that's the outdoor world.
Yeah,
it's not for everyone.
Next, we've got equipment rentals. So same thing with employees. You can calibrate your equipment purchases and try out stuff first. There's rentals. Home Depot even rents mowers and stuff now. But there's all kinds of rental yards where try it out before you buy it. Get a manufacturer to lend you a mower for the day. Do things like that to minimize having the need to buy so much. And then it ends up you didn't like it, or it's got a quirk that you can't live with. And then you end up selling it or not using something that you're having to pay for.
Yeah. I do think it's an important aspect. Like, we've invested a lot into trenching machines, and a good friend of mine, he's in the tree service industry. And it's like, hey, if we have lifts, if we have all the equipment, chippers, and a lot more equipment costs, but he's like, I could keep my overhead down because, something, maybe it's a $30,000 or $50,000 investment. You're like, crap, I don't want to spend that much money because it feels like a lot. But once you hire an employee, I mean, they're going to be $30,000 to $50,000. And if that one tool could be more efficient than 2 or 3 people, it's paying for itself, first year. So, always weigh that out. We just a lot of times look at that initial cost and be like, I don't want to put, $15,000 in a trenching machine. But, we hire 2 more guys to come out there, or we find ourselves hiring people on temporary levels all the time. Then it's no longer temporary. Then it's basically full-time guys.
And with equipment, especially lawn and landscape related, because there's so much equipment that you have to have, especially when you're getting into commercial and larger crew sizes, get the same equipment. Once you love a string trimmer, love that blower, love what this does, that does, systemize all your purchases and rentals according to always trying to get the same equipment for the same truckloads. Because say, Jimmy has to work at truck 22, but next week he has to go to truck 3 because they have a workload heavy every other week. Well, he gets in the truck. He's familiar with the same steel string trimmer model. Boom. There's not a learning curve anymore. So you're minimizing learning curves by sticking with the same tried and true equipment that everybody grew and loves to use and operate.
Yeah. And I think that that's true in almost every industry. In lighting, you see a lot of owners will switch brands a lot in the fixtures they're choosing.
Mm-hmm.
And I always say, if you really want to build a scalable lighting business, you have to have something that the technicians aren't having to think about the product they're putting in, that they're just used to it. They put it in every day. It's the same thing if you have 3 echo blowers and 3 steel blowers, and they just operate a little different, and you start just having more and more issues. So it's like, keep it simple, and then scale it.
There you go. And then finally, for strategic resource allocation, material purchases. Get those damn things delivered.
Oh.
And if you can't get them delivered to your job site or to your home base, get one person, yourself as the owner, or your wife, your mother, your father, etc. But get someone that's not high payroll to go on a Friday when there's no traffic and go to Lowe's, go to Site Ones, get that material and bring it back. And then, Pat, with materials, especially reoccurring material, string trimmer line, edger blades, stuff that we know we need today and tomorrow and next week, buy extra. And part of your financial plan is buy more than you need initially, but you know you're going to use it down the road. How many times, Pat, has someone been on a job site and ran out of wire or something that you use often?
It's crazy. And I'm always shocked. Like, I'll pull into Site One every once in a while, and you see like an entire crew of irrigation guys sitting in the truck waiting while the owner's running to grab crap. Lighting, it's all over the place. I always tell people, like, why the heck would you go to Site One for each job and pick up exactly what you need? Like, for us, it's always like, hey, we want to have at least 100 extra fixtures just around our warehouse.
Yep.
So if a customer calls up and bring them out to each job. So if a customer calls up or you're on the job and they say, hey, I want to add 5 more lights, it's there. It's not a second trip out. There's so much, you see that in these businesses where, so much can be delivered, and going to local warehouses can be a waste. And a lot of times you could buy direct and save. So you could cut out some of that, the middleman.
No doubt. So number 4, communication and collaboration, open communication. You might not think that will hinder or help overtime, but it does. Open communication, foster that with your crew, your family that's building your company with you, and have that always open between management, employees, no matter the level. Someone always sees a good opportunity to discuss an issue or bring up an efficiency problem or a quality problem at work.
Yeah, I see that really integral in the sales to the lead man out in the field. Like, those two have to meet every week. And so we always do a meeting with that, because, for salespeople, a lot of times they're not going to care as much. Like, hey, I got an extra $5,000 on this job. And so the lead technician looks out and is like, yeah, that took us 2 extra days to get that $5,000.
Right.
Where, so, we set up a system so that the salesperson's paid to the man hours on the job. So tie it all together so everybody's going for the same thing. And it's like, don't sell cafe lights over a swimming pool. It's going to take forever for us to put in. Or if you do, charge enough to make it worth everybody's while. So, when you start seeing things like that, that's that communication between team members, not just like, I'm meeting with my sales team and then I'm meeting with my installation team. Yep. We want to bring everybody in the same room together and go, like, that job was a mess. What was wrong with it? This, and this. Mark it down, and then you start, adding to your SOPs and improving that on each project. So it's continuing. It's always evolving. You're always changing it, making it better.
Yeah. Next is teamwork. Encourage teamwork and collaboration among all employees. It's going to improve your efficiency and reduce the need for individuals that are lagging behind because they're outed from the team. And so they're going to be slower because they're pissed off because your foreman didn't bring them into the huddle meeting in the morning, and alienate people. And that's a common occurrence. So they're going to slag behind. They're going to do it on purpose. At times they're going to feel discouraged, and that's just going to add up to overtime.
Yeah. You hear that a lot. And it's something I always grew up because I was in trouble all the time where it's like, if I didn't hear from the principal, it's a good thing. So I never wanted to get called down.
Yeah.
And so I had that mentality of like, hey, if you don't hear from me, things are going good.
You're right.
And it's got to be. And then I had people tell me like, oh, I never talked to you, or, I'm not part of the inner crew. And so it's like sitting when you're in a meeting, anybody got anything to say, anything going on, and try and like get that information out of people, because you're going to have some of the guys that are just quiet and they're not going to say
Yeah.
this, or this. So, you know, make it a point to ask for their opinions. And we've talked a lot about this. Those Friday afternoons, some burgers on the grill, cornhole, something like that, where it's just a little bit more relaxed and you could talk to somebody
Yeah.
that you're usually not talking to on a daily basis. And they get to know you a little bit better. But those are key. Like once a month, once every other month, you're just doing some team activity, bringing everybody together.
Yeah. Motivated staff that's energized on a daily basis somehow or weekly basis about the company, where you're going, your mission, vision, statements, and all that good stuff is being realized. That's a more effective and engaged employee that's going to be more productive
Yeah.
for you. All right, number 5 in how to save on OT, baby. Emergency planning, contingency plans. What happens if you get rain during the week? Unexpected events, severe weather, equipment breakdowns, any kind of disruption in your production. What are you going to do? Do you have a plan for that? If not, Pat, we've got to make a plan in case of things that are going to happen.
Yeah. But we were always chasing the dollar. So it's like, hey, we could get another job in, maybe get a job in on Saturday. And, didn't really run it efficiently. Going Monday through Thursday, and I recommend that to anybody, is Monday through Thursday. That gives you one day if it's a rainy day on a Wednesday, you could say, let's bump everything to Thursday and Friday's open.
Mm-hmm.
So giving yourself that planned break in there is really key, because you can't plan out, hey, we're going to work 50 hours this week and get everything done and nothing's going to go wrong, because something is going to go wrong. And then it's just stress and everybody's pissed off at each other. And try and look out for the guys on really bad days, on really hot days. If we could move an install one day, or that can make it. Can't always do it, but if you can,
Mm-hmm.
let them know we're trying to do that, so we kind of have that extra day to move things around as needed.
Yeah, and we made a protocol in our landscape business that if you wake up and you see it's raining, come in.
Yeah.
How many gosh darn phone calls did you get in the morning? Hey, it's raining at my house. Should we come in? Because it may be raining at their house, but it may not be raining at where you're going to work. So we always had the protocol, and we trained everybody when they got hired. If it's raining, come in. If it's too much rain, the owner or the manager is going to make that call, and he'll give you the heads up before you leave in the morning from your house.
Yeah. Yeah, and you're going to get someone on your staff as the weather guy. I mean, they have like a Doppler radar on their house, and they're like, Thursday's going to be a washout, so we should just plan. And like, look at that, but never trust the weatherman. I remember one time we canceled an install because it's like 100% chance of rain. It's going to be 3 inches. We canceled it by 9:30. Sun's out. It's beautiful. A customer called pissed off, like, how come you guys aren't out here? It's a beautiful day. I'm like, we listened to the weather. So I don't even turn on the weather report. I just go, show up to the office every day, and, we can make the call at that point. If guys come in and they have to go home, I'll pay them, for their time coming in and out.
My God. No, but when they come in, say it is raining hard, it like starts raining more and more as after they've clocked in. There is some internal work that can be done, and you're not milking clock necessarily. With landscape and lawn maintenance, equipment maintenance was a huge thing that had to get done.
Yeah.
Cleaning the air filters, sharpening the blades, greasing the points and all that. So what we would do, we would let them do their equipment maintenance a day or two early, if that's the rain day, and let them be there for an hour or two, and then go home, reschedule the workload for a better day, develop contingency plans as a business owner to minimize this unproductive time and minimize stress and question marks from everybody.
Yeah. And I think one of the hard things to do is telling employees no. Like when they're like, hey, we have to work this Saturday, which we don't do very often at all.
Right.
And I say that like we're not going to do it often, but the people are like, oh, I planned a vacation. Like you have to get it pre-approved beforehand, and sometimes you're just the jerk that's like you can't do it, or you're the guy on the lawnmower
Yeah.
cutting grass that day while your people are on the beach, and you're like, all right, I'm not going to keep doing this. So it's like
Yeah.
managing time off and planning it out, and like just because we're off on Saturday doesn't mean that if we see the weather is changing or something like that, you might have to come in, and that's just your job. Like,
And not everybody wants to come in for sure on a
no,
Saturday, but you got to give them the heads up that, hey, we're in a weather abiding world out here. We're working outside. We have no control over the weather. So as a company, to keep us in business, we have to perform all the work for each week load. So Saturdays are required if need be. So that's a big one.
yeah,
Crisis management in your emergency planning as business owners is a big one, Pat. Lawn and landscape relations with equipment is very dangerous at times. Things can get cray out there pretty quickly, especially with wet weather, Pat. People
mm-hmm.
slipping, and now the mower's coming down on them, or guys are pruning with the hedge clippers and they put their hands in the hedges. So they know if emergency happens, say someone gets their fingers cut or leg or anything, any kind of thing like that, here's the protocol that you go to here. If it's more severe, call 911 and get emergency hospital, ambulance, and all that good stuff coming. And then we would further mandate an insurance claim and all that good stuff. So we had everything spelled out, and that was more of a account manager duty for the insurance and workman's comp related. Because every time an accident happens that's worthy of a urgent care or hospital visit, it's by law you're supposed to um, put in a report to your workman's comp insurance. And
Mm-hmm.
so that was protocol. And hey, what happened? Tell me about the situation. Could it have been prevented? Now you're going all over all these kind of safety related concerns. But us as outdoor service pros, we've got to work safely. That's number one priority. So
Yeah, you got to prep for all that. And I think one of the things is just staying calm as the owner. Like something happens, for us, it's typically not as bad. Ladder safety is probably our biggest thing, or tree climbing. But like you hit an irrigation and it looks like, Niagara Falls in someone's
yeah,
backyard. And I remember just under stress screaming at someone. And I'm like, I've got to take a couple steps back, calm down, because I'm the leader of the organization. If I'm freaking out, then everybody is. Emotion always transfers. So it's like, not a big deal. Go shut the water off. Let's do this. And keeping your head about yourself, because you're leading the organization. And so you need to make sure that you're not flying off the handle. And, as me, the joke was like, first 10 years, like, screwdriver goes missing and I'm chucking it across the driveway. And, it's like you need to set that tone of just keeping a level head on your shoulder.
And another thing, Pat, too, cross training your employees, right? So you mentioned irrigation leaking, or you had a bust in a line out there. Are they going to freak out, or are they going to know where the backflow is and how to turn it off?
Yeah.
And we would upfit our guys. Every truck had a meter key that turns, you open the big lead lid, and you can physically turn on and off the irrigation water meter. So every crew had that. Every crew had an irrigation repair kit, and so on, because we know they're going to nick stuff, knock off heads. So we would have an irrigation toolbox with some common heads in there, common pop-up spray heads, drip line repair kits. We had tire repair kits if you got low pressure tires, because there's a lot of tires. Everybody's cross-trained for events. That's not a part of the main job.
Yeah.
And that's going to save time and payroll, because they're prepared, they're trained for worst case scenarios and accidents and all that good stuff. So
yeah, that's key. And outfitting every truck, you do one or two, but the third guy goes out, doesn't help you. So get everybody set up, organize it through each truck. And
yeah, baby. So by implementing these 5 strategies, landscape and lawn care owners, any home service contractor out there, you're going to efficiently manage your payroll. You're talking about saving 10 minutes here, 10 minutes there, Magnify that times 50 guys and do the math. It adds up to thousands and thousands per year in potential savings as a business owner. Now you have, just imagine, an extra $1,000, an extra $5,000 of saved overtime revenue. Now, what can you do with that? You can improve your business. You can give bonuses now. You can buy that new equipment now. So you got to have profit, and all this saved efficiency money just goes to the bottom line and profitability and longevity of your business.
Yeah. Business is tough. And so it's like you have to try and plan everything out and get it all set. That adds up.
All right, guys, that wraps up this episode. Let us know how you're saving overtime and your payroll in the comments. Make sure you subscribe to the Outdoorsy Entrepreneur YouTube channel and hit those notifications and listen to where we get your podcasts. And follow us on our social media platforms at Outdoorsy Boss. Business tools we use and highly recommend: Big Tuna websites, House Call Pro field service software, and ZevBit estimation software. We got money-saving links down in the description below for first-time users. Big thanks to everybody watching. Hope everybody's having a killer Wednesday, and I hope everybody makes it a great day. We'll see you guys in the next episode.
All aboard!